remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice. And let me remind you also that moderation in the pursuit of justice is no virtue.
Industrial giant, to get government back within its means and to lighten our punitive tax burden. And these will be our first priorities, and on these principles there will be no compromise. I can hear you! I can hear you! The rest of the world hears you! And the people...
Never give in. Never, never, never. In nothing, great or small, large or petty, never give in except to convictions of honor and good sense. Never yield to force. Never yield to the apparently overwhelming might of the enemy.
But I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
We declare our right on this earth to be a man, to be a human being, to be respected as a human being, to be given the rights of a human being in this society, on this earth, in this day, which we intend to bring into existence by any means necessary.
Apostle Claver T. Kamau-Imani on RagingElePhantsRadio.com.
Hey, what's up, Saints and Patriots? Apostle Claver T. Kamau-Imani, RagingElePhantsRadio.com, the rebellious voice of Texas liberty. I'm so thrilled to be back with you, and I'm just going to tell you right now, immediately, at this moment, you need to share the link to the video stream, the app, whatever you have to do. This is a Raging Elephants Radio special report. I've got two straight nights of unprecedented information for you, the Texas liberty-driven patriot. So you need to share the link right now. If you're watching Facebook.com/Raging Elephants Radio, please, pretty please, with a cherry on top, with some whipped cream, homemade whipped cream, with a cherry on top. Please share the link. This is a special report dealing with Texas under attack, and we are. And I wonder how many Texans out there, they may not know it empirically, but they feel it, they see it, they smell it. They know something isn't going right. They know that Texas just doesn't feel right. They feel it. For some of them, it's a spiritual thing. They feel it spiritually, that there's something going on as far as Texas is concerned, and they're very uncomfortable about it. And tonight I'm going to talk to you about the three major fronts in which Texas is actually under attack. We are actually under assault. And unfortunately, I see no retribution. I see no retaliation. I see no defense going up. National defense, if you will. Speaking of Texas as a potential sovereign independent republic, I just don't see it. I don't see it from Washington. I don't see it from Austin. And if we're going to be absolutely truthful about it, some of our very own public officials that we have elected, our very own Texas neighbors, they're the ones of exacerbating the situation, exacerbating the attack. actually aiding and abetting the enemy on all three fronts. So I am pleading with you, please get this link out to everybody that you can right now, because we're going to go in depth. And then later on in the program, we're going to bring on Daniel Miller to talk about the situation as it is for Texas. The bottom line is, on three fronts, we're being attacked, and we're going to look meticulously at each one of these fronts tonight on this program, no matter how long it takes. First, oil production, the energy industry. And I think, in my view, this really, when it comes to priorities, what fronts we have to deal with, which one we've got to deal with first, this is the one we have to deal with first. Energy production, oil production in Texas. Texas is economically seriously in trouble because of the condition of the oil market, the global oil market. No, we are not energy independent. Number two, and I'm going to put this, and I'm putting this number two. Number two is the border invasion. No. I'll go ahead and say the number three thing, is the panic, is the coronavirus, is COVID-19, and the economy being shut down. But in my view, if I'm going to put them in order, rank them in importance, in severity, and what I think our government and we as individuals should be looking at on a priority basis, number one, the attack on Texas, specifically when it comes to energy production. Number two, the immigration border invasion. And number three, the shutting down of the economy due to the panic. That's, in my view, those are the three in the order in which of importance to me. Now, you may disagree, but I think I would find it hard to find a Texas patriot on this evening tonight that would disagree with me that on those three issues we've got serious problems. And it appears that those that we've entrusted with leadership to deal with them for us, not taking our instructions, they're not taking our instructions, and the problems are getting worse. By now, I'm sure everyone, absolutely everyone, heard what happened yesterday with West Texas Intermediate crude going negative on price. I'm sure everyone has heard that by now. If you haven't, where have you been? It wasn't minus 50 cents, negative 50 cents for a barrel of West Texas Intermediate crude. It wasn't a negative $1. It wasn't a negative $2. It was a minus $37 and change, $37.63. The May contract, the front contract that ended the trading today, finished at a minus $37.63. It closed out today, I think, around $2, $3, something like that a barrel on the May contract. But then now on the new front month contract, June, everybody is saying, well, look at the back months. The prices are more reasonable if you call $22, $23, $25 a barrel of oil reasonable for Texas, which it is not, which we're going to deal with on this program. Today, the new front month, June, it falls 50-60%. It falls down to like $6 a barrel before it recovers before the end of the day to around $11 a barrel. The June contract is following in the footsteps of the May contract. Yesterday, crude oil, in the first time in the history of the United States of America, went negative. And here's the thing, it was intentional. It was an attack on Texas specifically. It is intended to cripple us more than anyone else in the nation, more than anyone else in the United States. Oil yesterday going to negative $37.63 was specifically targeted at Texas. And I want to know what the elected class is going to do about it. They've done not one doggone thing about it. This is going to harm us. This is going to absolutely damage Texas. And I want to know what the nim-nongs from the governor's mansion on down are going to do about it. We're going to talk about the Railroad Commission. They punted today. They kicked the can down the road. They were supposed to vote today specifically on putting some controls, trying to fight back, is my interpretation of what they had the potential to do today. And they didn't. They kicked the can down the road for a couple of more weeks into May. What are they going to do about the oil glut? What are they going to do about a specific attack on Texas? I've said it before, and I've got a ton of video that we're going to go through. A ton of video that we've got to go through. We're going to go through the specific timeline of the attack. This was almost like a Pearl Harbor thing. But there were signs and signals out there that the Russians and the Saudis were about to gang up to attack Texas. There were some signs out there, and I'm going to show them to you. We're going to go through the timeline to where we got on yesterday with oil for the very first time, West Texas Intermediate crude. And everybody thought that, hey, well, look at Brent. Brent crude didn't get smashed. North Sea Brent crude didn't get smashed. Brent crude, in which Saudi Arabia is more tied with, didn't get annihilated, didn't get obliterated. But West Texas Intermediate crude cratered, went negative. First time in American history. We should be absolutely livid. We should be calling for Putin's head. Where's the retaliation? And before I go to my first break, and we're going to get into the details of this, yes, here's a little self-promotion. Who was the radio talk show host, if you will, broadcast activist is what we call ourselves around here at Raging Elephants Radio. Who was the first one to bring it to your attention? Who was the first one? I was. Rush isn't going to talk about it. Mark Stein isn't going to talk about it. Sean isn't going to talk about it. Tucker isn't going to talk about it. They can't cover it like I can cover it. And I've been telling you guys since the month of March, early March, the Russians had something up their sleeves. They were going to be attacking Texas. They attacked Texas. I've been calling for retaliation. I've been calling for payback. I've been calling for retribution. I've been calling for 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Yes, even President Trump to do something more than just pick up the phone and have a chit chat with Putin and the Saudis, and it hasn't happened. But I'm the first one that brought this to your attention. And do you know of anybody else? Anybody else that even tries to call themselves a Texas media outlet that was calling this out a month ago? A month ago, I was saying this is going to get bad. Something needs to happen now. And here we are. This is why I'm the best in Texas, period. The three things, the three fronts that we're fighting a war right now, economic war right now, Texas under attack. Number one, energy production. Number two, border invasion. Number three, COVID-19 panic and the shutting down of the Texas economy. And we're going to deal with all three of those tonight. RER special report. Please, I wanted to get this first opening monologue out because I want to give everybody the opportunity to share the video link right now. Share the website right now if you're listening via audio. If you're listening via RER app, share the app right now. Tell somebody to listen in because you're going to get information. You're going to get a timeline. You're not going to get anywhere else. The Foxies can't keep up with us at RER when it comes to talking Texas. And Texas talk is all the rage. This is Raging Elephants Radio, the rebellious voice of Texas liberty. Don't cut the stream because if you're not listening, you're not learning. Later on in the program, Daniel Miller, President, Texas Nationalist Movement, as we discuss the condition of Texas really in a state of war. And I don't see the retribution. I don't see the payback. Where's the national defense? From Washington and from Austin. Don't cut the stream. Automobile aficionado Apostle Claver here. Let me introduce you to my mechanic, an ASC certified mechanic, Andre at America's Repair in Houston. Now, you guys know I'm a former fully sponsored race car driver and I own a high performance auto. You bet I'm particular about who even touches my car. I go to America's Repair to get all my auto work done, and you should too. Andre has served Spring Branch and all of Houston for over 20 years. America's Repair will match or beat any competitor's price. All repairs come with a 1-year, 12,000-mile warranty. America's Repair is a complete car care and repair center. State inspection, muffler and exhaust work, wheel alignment, brake work, tune-ups, engine transmission work, auto body and paint. Great deals on oil change and AC checkup. America's Repair accepts all extended warranties. 2005 North Gessner, 1 mile north of Memorial City Mall in the Katy. Wednesday is senior citizen discounts. Thursday, active military discount. Call 713-467-2001. 713-467-2001. AmericasRepair.com. Or click the ad on RagingElePhantsRadio.com.
Hey guys, spring is just around the corner and it's time to check out your air conditioning system. Call Galen Beatty with Beatty AC and Heat, 281-222-9591. And mention this commercial and you can save $15 off your next checkout. Galen Beatty is my AC guy, and he needs to be your AC guy too. No one does it better than he does. This family-owned business is the best in Houston. And even if you're out of town, if you need to replace your entire heating and AC system, Galen Beatty is going to be your best bet. He'll check everything from your thermostats to your air handler to make sure that you're getting the most efficient system ever. Nobody does it like Galen Beatty, and the price is always right. So be sure to mention this commercial and save an extra $15 today. That's Galen Beatty with BeattyACandHeat.com. BEEE ACandHeat.com. 281-222-9591. 281-222-9591. Call him today.
What's up, Saints and Patriots? I'm Apostle Claver, a proud Texas nationalist, and I'm here to tell you about Texit. For 25 years, Daniel Miller has been working to see the rebirth of the Republic of Texas. His work has been hard, but his passion is deep. For many Texans, there is a deep yearning, a burning to see the prophecy of Sam Houston come true. But the desire of their hearts comes with many questions. Texit has the answer. It's the new book from Daniel Miller and Defiance Press. Texit, Why and How Texas Will Leave the Union. Texit charts the path to Texas independence. This riveting book of facts and philosophy will soothe your anxiety about the coming change and build your confidence that Texans can get it done. You'll want to buy several copies for your family and friends. Like I've said about this governmental mess, the only way out is out. And the best part of Texit, I'm in it. Texit, Why and How Texas Will Leave the Union. It's selling like hotcakes. Buy it on RagingElePhantsRadio.com. What do you care about Washington, D.C.? D.C. doesn't care about you. You're a Texan. You're a Texan above all else. And there's only one radio station that's going to feed your need for Texas power and independence. RagingElePhantsRadio.com. Finally, the Patriots of the Lone Star State have a unified voice to fight back and organize. 24/7, 365. RagingElePhantsRadio.com is going to give you what you need to know about Texas politics, liberty, and independence. Take us wherever you go. RagingElePhantsRadio.com. Streaming on your computer, smartphone, tablet, and internet auto.
Information, communication, action. RagingElePhantsRadio.com.
Share the link, share the link, share the link. Important information today from Raging Elephants Radio Special Report, Texas under attack. The way I see it, we're on a three-front war here. And let's dig in to front number one. The attack on Texas by Russia and Saudi Arabia in collaboration. Let's go through the timeline. Got a lot of video that I need to share with you on this. We're going to go all the way back. Now remember, oil yesterday, the May contract, which closed out today, the May contract closed out at a negative $37.63 last night. A negative $37. First time in history. And you better believe that's going to have an impact on Texas. It's going to have an impact on Texas governance. revenue going into Austin. Oh my goodness. The rainy day fund that they always raid is not going to take care of this. I guarantee you. The shortfall is going to be massive. And what we've got some Rudy Poots up there under the pink dome that are completely and utterly unqualified to handle this situation, if you ask me. We're in deep trouble. And we need some serious action. We're under attack. We're in economic warfare, and I see no payback, no retribution. Let's do the timeline. Let's go to video clip 1A. All the way back to March the 2nd. Tillman Fertitta is on CNBC, and all these clips are coming to you from CNBC primarily. I mean, Bloomberg has been carrying it, the business networks. If you haven't been following the business networks, but Tillman Fertitta talks about what happens when oil gets to $30, $35 a barrel. This is back on March the 2nd. Let's go through the timeline.
We spent time together in Houston about the oil price impact. And I understand that Houston is a massive city. It's well diversified. You've got MD Anderson, you've got software, you've got a consumer economy. However, oil prices have gone up and down wildly. We're now starting to enter this period where prices are just kind of remaining depressed for a long time. Nobody expects prices to move significantly higher over the next couple of years. So if we get this extended sort of slow slide in the price of oil, what do you think will happen to Houston, which is, by the way, the fastest growing large metro area in the United States and a massive economic driver for your state and for the country?
Well, I will tell you, when we managed to adjust to $50 oil, and you and I think, did a show on this a couple of years ago, and we've adjusted. Adjusting to $35 oil or $30 oil is pretty improbable, because you really can't do anything to cut expenses and can't find any more technology to drill any cheaper, and basically people aren't drilling much anyway.
The point of this, showing this video, first of all, March the 2nd, 2020. We're now getting ready to close out April. And if I back it up a little bit, I think he had oil, the XL lead. Yeah, there's WTI crude right there, the April contract at $41.48. $41.48, and he's talking about the problems we will face, specifically in Houston, specifically Texas, if we see an oil drop to $30 a barrel. We're at 41, and he's saying adjusting to 50 was tough as it was. And yesterday we closed out at a negative $37.68.
Find any more technology to drill any cheaper, and basically people aren't drilling much anyway. But the biggest problem is oil companies have lots of debt, and that's the way they operate. And there's so many of your small drillers, so many of your suppliers, and it's going to be interesting for Houston. At some point, if oil sticks around $30, $35, you are going to see a problem. But we've got a great economy. We saw the jobs report, but the jobs report meant nothing because everything changed Monday morning. That is when I saw the difference. That's when everybody started canceling conferences and huge conventions. Everybody's canceling everything right now. So everybody needs to remember it's going to get worse, but then it'll get better.
That's all the way March the 2nd. Oil at $41 and change. And Tillman Fertitta saying, look, we're going to have problems if this thing gets to $30 a barrel. Well, last night it got to negative 37 and change. And it was intentional, totally intentional. We're going through the timeline. On March 30th, once again on CNBC, Hilda Croft, she's a energy analyst. She talks about exactly what Russia and Saudi Arabia did purposefully targeting Texas. This was the real first indication that the plunge that we saw in oil, 70% in one day, was intentional and that it was directed towards Texas.
Halima, is anybody talking sense to the Saudis and the Russians?
I think what's really interesting today is we got reports that President Trump was going to pick up the phone and actually phone Vladimir Putin. So much of the talk has been on what the U.S. can do to get the Saudis to basically cut production. But I really think the path to a production cut deal that could help save this market goes through Moscow. It was the Russians who said they weren't going to cut production at the last OPEC meeting. And I think they are absolutely essential to putting this whole OPEC plus arrangement back together. Again, so much emphasis has been on Saudi Arabia, but it's very interesting today that President Trump is phoning Moscow.
What's the president's leverage?
Well, I think the interesting question is, will the U.S. or will the White House want to give some sweeteners to Moscow in terms of sanctions relief? The U.S. has imposed sanctions on key Russian energy companies such as Rosneft. We've basically sanctioned the Nord Stream 2 pipeline project. And so the question is, will the president give some relief on sanctions to get the Russians to agree to cut production? I think that's a potential path to an early deal. No guarantees, but I don't think we get a big grand bargain unless Russia is willing to participate.
So the headline is that these two countries are engaged in a price war between each other. But
yes.
Are either of them the ultimate targets of this price war, or are our producers the ultimate targets?
That is a great question, because at the OPEC meeting where everything fell apart at the beginning of the month, it was really clear that the Russians were targeting U.S. production.
The Russians targeting U.S. production. Now, this is on March 30th. Look at West Texas Intermediate crude. At that moment, she is talking the May contract, $20.11. On March the 2nd, the previous video clip of Tillman Fertitta talking about the price of oil and potentially the damage that could be done if the slide continued, it was at $41 and change. That was on March the 2nd. March 30th, when this lady is speaking, crude is at $20.11. Brent is at $22.69. And she is specifically saying, I'm going to back it up a little bit. Yeah, it's Russia and Saudi Arabia getting together, but they certainly had someone in mind when they colluded, that's the word, colluded to flood the global market, to overflow the bathtub, which is the global oil industry. No, I will say it again. I will repeat it again. If I have to explain it to you again, I will. The United States is not energy independent. And when presidential rallies, campaign rallies start up again, if the president says that we're energy independent, I am sorry, that is an untruth. We are not energy independent, or we wouldn't be suffering like this. The actions of the Russians and the Saudi Arabians wouldn't have caused oil, West Texas Intermediate crude, to go negative, a negative $37.63.
The ultimate targets.
That is a great question, because at the OPEC meeting where everything fell apart at the beginning of the month, it was really clear that the Russians were targeting U.S. production. It was a standpoint of the Russian companies like Rosneft that they should not have to shut down their barrels first. That the U.S. companies, the high-cost U.S. producers, they should be the ones to blink. And
they're playing a game of chicken. They're playing a game of chicken. No, the United States should blink first, is what she's saying. The Russians and the Saudi Arabians saying they're going after U.S. oil producers. They're going after Texas shale drillers. They're going after us, our backbone, our economy, our wealth, the future of our children, our well-being, our quality of living. We are being attacked by the Russians and the Saudi Arabians. She's saying it. They're specifically going after U.S. energy producers. This is on March 30th.
Also, the Russian companies were tired of sanctions on their business practices. So they are squarely focused on the United States. Now, the Saudis are very focused on the Russians. They're trying to get the Russians back to the table. Hence why the deal that might make this all work would be a U.S.-Russia deal, in my view.
Now, we're going to continue with the timeline. At one point I said, well, maybe somebody is listening. Maybe somebody's got a clue up there. And I was feeling optimistic. Because a couple of weeks later, our very own Senator Ted Cruz U.S. Senator Ted Cruz, the cruise missile, he started making the media rounds. And he started talking about the impact of oil prices and who's guilty of driving the prices down and the reason that they were driving the price down. A specific attack on Texas by the Russians and the Saudis. Now, I want to also bring to your attention that the previous Hilma Croft, the previous analyst, expert, she said it's Russia and Saudi Arabia. Russia and Saudi Arabia together, collaborating, colluding to attack Texas. But the Russians specifically ticked off because of the economic sanctions that's already being applied to them. Now, Ted Cruz makes the rounds, and he talks about this call they had with the Saudi Arabian ambassador, how they read her the riot act. And the argument being Saudi Arabia is supposed to be a friend of ours. Russia, we know that they have no goodwill towards the United States, and so for them to do something like this really isn't surprising. But for Russia and Saudi Arabia to do a 1-2 punch, to do a pincer movement around Texas for the purpose of obliterating our energy production, that's intolerable for Saudi Arabia to do this. So Ted Cruz, this is on April the 7th, Ted Cruz makes the media rounds, and he makes it crystal clear that Texas is under attack, and he wants something done about it. I gave him full ovation. I gave him full applause. I said, thank you, Senator Cruz, for bringing this to the fore. But the question is, when is something going to be done about it? Here's President. Some of y'all wish. Here's Senator Cruz all the way back on April the 7th.
We did a conference call with the Saudi ambassador. There were, I think, 9 of the 13 did a conference call. That, Becky, I got to tell you, was as candid a call and direct a call as I've ever had with a foreign leader, where the 9 of us, I mean, we quite frankly unloaded on her. And their defense was essentially, well, but Russia's doing this. And I can tell you my response. I said, well, that's fine, but Russia is not our friend. We know they're not our friend, and we treat them accordingly. We are aware their intentions to us are malign. The Saudi kingdom is supposed to be our friend, and we are a military ally, we are a diplomatic ally, and you are not behaving like a friend when you are trying to destroy thousands and thousands of small businesses all across Texas and the country.
See, there it is. There's Ted Cruz. He's saying specifically to Saudi Arabia and Russia, you guys can scream Russia, Russia, Russia all you want to, but you're a part of it too, Saudi Arabia. And I've been focusing primarily on Russia retaliation against Russia because they're the real instigators of it. But Saudi Arabia is in that same sandbox playing right along with them. And Ted Cruz calling them out and saying, you're trying to put hundreds of thousands of Texans out of work. You're attacking our economy. You're doing it on purpose. And I thank Senator Cruz, and I'm doing it today, for bringing it to the attention of the American people on national media. But the question is, what's being done about it?
And so the senators on the call with the ambassador urged vigorously, and we said, listen, there are a whole series of steps we can take to escalate foreign policy pressure. And we outlined a number of them.
I'm curious, wouldn't you want to know what these are? Senator Cruz said, we've outlined retaliation. We've outlined retribution. I've heard nothing else. What are the plans? What are the plans to put pressure on Russia and Saudi Arabia to cut this mess out, to stop messing with Texas?
You continue engaging in economic warfare.
He called it economic warfare. I started calling it warfare back in March. I said we were under attack by Russia and Saudi Arabia. We were under attack. And then you heard Senator Cruz right there. He used the term, I'll back it up. He used the term economic warfare. Warfare is warfare. That means you're under attack. You're under assault. Your way of life is trying to be changed. Your liberty is trying to be abridged.
If you continue engaging in economic warfare against...
There it is. He He says the Russians are engaging in economic warfare. He says the Saudi Arabians are engaging in economic warfare. It's not just Claver. It's the great Senator Ted Cruz, the Cruz missile himself.
If you continue engaging in economic warfare against the United States, trying to drive down the price of oil in order to exploit this coronavirus crisis to drive a bunch of American producers out of business, I'm hopeful the president will echo that same message, and I'm hopeful the Saudis will hear it.
I got to take a break right here. I'm not done yet with this timeline. That's April the 7th. So on March the 2nd, Tillman Fertitta is saying, look, oil has dipped below $50 a barrel. Texas is going to have a hard time. At the time, oil was at $41 and change. March 30th comes along. The downdraft has already hit West Texas Intermediate crude. Russia and Saudi Arabia has already hit Texas. Oil is down $20 to $20 a barrel. The energy analyst says specifically Russia and Saudi Arabia attacking American Texas energy producers. April the 7th, U.S. Senator Ted Cruz from Texas says it's Russia and Saudi Arabia attacking Texas, the backbone of our economy. We're at war. It's a three-front war. Special report, RagingElePhantsRadio.com.
Texas independence. Have you ever thought about it? What exactly does it mean, or is it even possible? Sam Houston said,
Texas will raise her head among the nations.
Was he a dreamer or a prophet? You can get the answers to these questions in the book Lying in the Sand by Daniel Miller. Doc Green says it's required reading for every Texan. Lying in the Sand by Daniel Miller gives you the information you need to be prepared to give an answer to anyone that asks. As a Raging Elephants Radio listener, you are the go-to person for your friends.
RagingElePhantsRadio.com.
This book is more than a good read. It will equip you to reach others while pursuing a better future for your family. Get your copy now by clicking on the link on RagingElePhantsRadio.com.
RagingElePhantsRadio.com.
That's RagingElePhantsRadio.com. Since a portion of the proceeds goes to support Raging Elephants Radio, it may be time for you to cross that line in the sand.
That line in the sand. RagingElePhantsRadio.com.
Green Air Technology will sanitize, sterilize, and defunkifies your home. Our treatment utilizes a high-output biocleaner to eradicate bacteria, germs, and airborne pathogens and allergens in any home, vehicle, or facility. So if your facility or home smells funky like a bow-legged monkey, call Green Air Technologies. We are dedicated to eliminating odor and airborne contaminants at home, at work, or even in your vehicle. Now featuring Biosphere. Call Jim Green at 346-254-9217 or go to greenairtech.com. 346-254-9217 or go to greenairtech.com.
When Andrew Jackson ran for president in 1828, his opponents called him a jackass. Jackson liked the image so much, it became the mascot of the new Democratic Party.
What would happen if one day Washington, D.C. decided that the Texas Tea Party had gone too far? What if Texans really stood up for their constitutional rights? Ripped from today's headlines, a novel that explores that premise. Could it really happen? This is a thriller in the mode of Tom Clancy and Joel Rosenberg. Author David Thomas Roberts explores a scenario that will have you on the edge of your seat from start to finish. Find out why readers use phrases like, "I couldn't put it down," "riveting," "a little too real." Can Texas Ranger Pop Younger save the day? You will only know when you read Patriots of Treason. You'll want to add this book to your collection, and to save time and aggravation, just order the sequel, State of Treason, along with it. You'll be glad you did. Click on the banner ad at the top of the page. RagingElePhantsRadio.com. RagingElePhantsRadio.com.
Here's how to use the RER app on your commute and get the latest Liberty 411. First, download the RER app on your smart device, phone or tablet, Apple or Android. Search Raging Elephants Radio in your App Store or Google Play and hit the search button on your keyboard. Connect your device to your car audio system. Do it via Bluetooth or auxiliary jack. You riding old school? Stick in some quality earbuds and enjoy the serious HD stereo. No excuses. It's here. RER app.
Get to know Texas politics. RagingElePhantsRadio.com.
A little bit later on, Daniel Miller, Texas Nationalist Movement, is going to join me to talk about the condition that we're under right now. Many of you are tuning in. I hope you share the video link right now. If you're watching, Facebook.com/Raging Elephants Radio. If you're listening via RagingElePhantsRadio.com, the website, or the Raging Elephants Radio app for iOS or Android. I hope you're sharing right now. This is a special report. Texas is under attack. Specifically, our state is under attack. I think it's a three-front war. I just played for you three videos that really outline that lay out a timeline, and I'm only halfway through, of how this thing developed. All the way back from March the 3rd, when Houston's own Tillman Fertitta, owner of the Rockets, owner of the Landry's Hospitality Empire, and the Golden Nugget Casino, he lays out the problems that we would have in Texas, and specifically in Houston, if we saw oil dip below $50 a barrel. In the background, as he was speaking on CNBC, the April contract for West Texas Intermediate crude was at $41 and change. On March 30th, I played for you the energy analyst Hilma Croft, also on CNBC. Oil is now down then to $20 a barrel, and she specifically lays out for each of us Texans that Russia and Saudi Arabia, in collaboration, attacking Texas and our oil producers. I'm the one that's been covering this. I'm the one that's been covering the bankruptcies. I've been the one that's been covering the layoffs of energy workers, energy employees already. There have been those that have been on the thread. Stephen, who works at the Valero plant down in Port Arthur, talking about the condition, the morale in the Valero plant down there in Port Arthur where I was born. I'm a Golden Triangle guy. My dad, worked in the refineries. It's his belief. He told me, he said, hey, the Texas economy, the Texas budget under the Pink Dome is supposed to work at around $48 a barrel of oil. And on yesterday, it went negative $37.63. I said it again, negative. For the first time in history, negative. This was intentional. It is intended to harm Texas, which is the engine of the United States economy, specifically pointed at us. And from the very beginning, when I started pointing this out a month ago, I've been saying, where's the payback? Where's the retribution on Russia and Saudi Arabia? They're messing with Texas, and we need to mess them up. And then I played for you Ted Cruz, who actually said on March 30th, he called the actions of Russia and Saudi Arabia economic warfare. This is not hyperbole. This is not sensationalism. This is not yellow journalism. This is not exaggeration. This is not panic. This is trying to get everybody out there to wake up and understand what's going on. Wake up and smell the coffee that we're under attack, and we need retribution. We need payback. We need a counterattack. So let's go to yesterday. Before the May contract closed yesterday at 1:30 p.m. Texas time at $37, a negative $37.63. A negative $37.63. They were already talking about the potential of that contract going negative. So here's an oil expert on yesterday. I'm going through the timeline now. We're talking about just yesterday, before the market closed, talking about the damage this specifically could do to Houston. What Houston faces. because of the actions of Russia and Saudi Arabia. Ted Cruz called it economic warfare.
So far here in Houston, we've had about nearly 250,000, 250,000 unemployment claims. What we're on track to see by the end of April is 10% unemployment figures here in Houston. That's double digits. Those types of figures haven't been seen here in Houston since the 1980s. So definitely this situation is bringing up memories of the 1980s oil bust and its effect here in Houston. A number of companies have issued guidance on layoffs. It seems so far the hardest hit are oil field service companies and, oil field equipment manufacturers. They are taking the brunt of those layoffs right now.
For sure. So the Houston economy, like we said, we know it's more diversified than in the past. Healthcare is a big part of that, so on and so forth. But when you start comparing this collapse to the 1980s, no one wants to hear that. There's been a contentious debate in Washington over whether to help oil and gas companies or not. And the tricky thing is, yes, they're hit by the same coronavirus that other sectors are hit by. But there's this idea, what if the price of crude doesn't come back? How do we know what to do in terms of this being a temporary problem versus something more lasting?
Right. Now, what I've been told is that, oil and gas, even though the Houston economy has been diversified, oil and gas still makes up about 1/3 of the economy here. There's just no ways around that. But what other people have told me that the oil and gas industry is actually better set up this time around at this downturn than, say, the 1986 or 2016. It's lean and it's mean and it's more efficient than before. And, some companies are definitely in stronger positions than others with enough cash and liquidity to ride out the storms. Others, however, are not. Ones with weak hedge books and ones with high debt. So we're in the middle of the bank restructuring season right now. We're going to get a lot of guidance on that when we see, how they do in the refinancing season, and then also earnings season. We're seeing a lot of guidance from there.
Right.
A lot of pain again in OFS.
Yeah, I've been watching this flotilla as well. We've got these 20 Saudi tankers of 40 million barrels headed to the Gulf. It's just one thing after another. Keep us posted, Sergio. We appreciate it. Sergio Chapa is a reporter with the Houston Chronicle.
Unbelievable, if you ask me. 10% unemployment. Now, I don't know if that takes into account the unemployment that's going to be caused by the panic, which we're going to talk about later. But just because of the attack by Russia and Saudi Arabia, we're going to expect double-digit unemployment in Houston just because of that. Then you got the panic on top of that. Oh my goodness. Yes, I want retribution. Yes, I want payback. Also, on yesterday, 5 experts talking about the impact that this is going to have on the United States, what this is going to do to Texas, what this is going to do to the economy. What Russia and Saudi Arabia has done is economic warfare. These 5 experts, it's a short clip. I want you to hear it specifically when they talk about Texas, when they talk about Houston. I want you to hear what they have to say. This was on yesterday as oil was about to go negative on the futures market for the very first time. It's been negative. It's been below the price of a McDonald's combo meal. It's been below a bucket of KFC chicken on the cash spot market for weeks. I've been reporting it to you. For weeks. You could get a can of beer. A barrel of oil could be is cheaper than a can of beer. Here's this video clip from yesterday as oil is about to go negative for the first time in U.S. history.
This is a really sort of interesting, unique story to the oil market. What has been hit the hardest by this pandemic has been, vehicle traffic use. People are not flying, they're not driving. And so this is a real story about storage filling up. We're expecting, Cushing to reach tank tops by mid-May. There are other places that you can store this crude, potentially like Louisiana. But until we get, signs that U.S. gasoline demand is improving, that people are going to drive again, I mean, we are continuing to be very, very bearish on the demand outlook for oil. Now, there was this OPEC cut last week, this historic cut. There was a lot of focus on that. And that's really sort of turning off the tap in the bathtub that's overflowing. And so the situation would be far worse. But the problem is those cuts don't take effect till May 1. There is still a lot of crude that is on the water right now that is going to refineries that do not need it. And so that is the challenge right now. Those OPEC cuts are not coming till May. A ton of crude on the water and demand continuing to collapse.
Our report today was called a dog's breakfast. That's a phrase for something that's extremely messy, which obviously the oil market is today as we reach 20-year lows. And the reason for the weakness is related to a couple of factors. First, expectations for oil demand and GDP are falling in an unprecedented way and by around 10 times that which we normally see in a recession. And so while the equity market is suggesting that we're going to have a coronavirus solution in coming quarters and that demand will recover, and we all hope that is the case, the problem is that in the near term, being the second quarter of 2020, supply is going to be over demand by around 15 million barrels per day or so, which when combined with the 7 million barrel build in the first quarter, puts us in a scenario whereby we're probably not going to have enough storage to accommodate this supply. So in this scenario, prices for crude oil are going to remain very weak. They're going to be near variable production costs for marginal producers, which supports our call for Brent 25 in the second quarter. But WTI, as you referred to a minute ago, is probably going to be 70 to 80% of that amount. If global economic growth recovers beyond that point, and OPEC and other supply cuts hold, then we're going to see inventories decline from record levels of 90 days at the middle of this year to maybe 60 days at the end of 2020 and 50 at the end of 2021. But this is high in relation to 40 years historically. But we could have a recovery to Brent 40 by the end of this year, but we have to have some help from the demand side.
My friend Rusty Brazil has been so good with me. RBN Energy is saying that perhaps the next month it might go to zero when you get visible, because there really is no place to put the oil and no one's stopping to produce. And it's funny, there's no upside. No one's talking about the good news of it. And I think that's because no one's going anywhere to take advantage of it, so to speak. And you watch the airline stocks go down. That used to be something that moved up. So almost everything that happens is viewed as negative in the physical commodity world.
I think there's actually two stories here on oil. The first one is there are some technical things going on with the futures contracts because they're expiring and rolling over tomorrow, which makes this a little bit of an unreasonable read. If you look out further into the June contract or even the contracts that go out a year, they're off, but they're not off nearly as much. My concern, though, is that in general, lower oil, it's not only about the energy sector, which is small, but it's the impact that this is going to have on credit and banks and other sectors that lose money when these energy companies can't pay their loans.
What concerns me, I know that you look at it, some of the contracts a little bit further out and they're higher, but I'm not so sure that we're going to see enough improvement that they do not come down as well. And so I'm really concerned that this is going to usher in a much bigger wave of bankruptcies. Ultimately, we're going to have a consolidation in the energy industry. It's going to result in some pretty significant job losses. It's going to hurt Houston. It's going to hurt Texas. There are other things that are going right in Texas, but really some of the higher cost oil producing regions in the United States, they may be in for some harsher adjustments.
And I see Stephen has joined in. Stephen, who works at the Valero plant down there in Port Arthur, where I was born. I'm a Golden Triangle guy. And Stephen, I think, was sending me a message, I believe, saying that the Texas economy and the Texas budget is really geared for $48 oil. And yesterday we closed at a negative 37.63. That last expert saying Texas once again. And the other national talk show hosts, syndicated talk show hosts, they're not going to be talking about this. I'm the one that's been telling you about this for 6 weeks. Anybody that's watching right now on Facebook.com/Raging Elephants Radio, you're watching our live video stream, you know I'm telling the truth. For 6 weeks, I've been saying this has been an attack on Russia, specifically on Texas by Russia, by Saudi Arabia, to harm us, to hurt us. It's undeniable. It's unequivocal. It's plain as day. You can see it with your own two eyes, and we need some sort of payback, and we're not getting it. Is the COVID-19 panic taking up all the bandwidth in Washington, Double City, and in Austin? Meanwhile, the real attack, specifically against Texas, is not being addressed. I played the video for you from U.S. Senator Ted Cruz in which he called it economic warfare. That what Russia and Saudi Arabia did was economic warfare, specifically on Texas. The last piece of video. This is a special report. I'm calling this Texas under attack. We're on a three-front war right now. And to me, the most important one is the energy production, what Russia and Saudi Arabia are doing specifically to us right now. This is the first and most important front to me than the other two that I'll be discussing. I hope I get to all of it tonight. I certainly hope I get to all of it tonight because I got a lot to tell you because so much is going on in Texas. Finally, today, the Texas Railroad Commission had a meeting. And the question was, well, what are those three guys going to do? What's Wayne Christian going to do? What is Ryan Sitton going to do? What is Christy Craddock going to do? And they punted. They kicked the can down the road. They were supposed to have a decision about oil production cuts. Is there something going to be done to fight back against Russia, Saudi Arabia, and OPEC Plus? Got to give Ryan Sitton credit. There isn't a camera. There's not a camera Ryan Sitton doesn't like. He will get on. Ryan Sitton will. I'm not going to call him as bad as Sheila Jackson Lee, but in the future he could turn out to be a Texas Sheila Jackson, another one, Sheila Jackson Lee. Railroad Commissioner Ryan Sitton today on the Texas Railroad Commission's role in what to do about this attack from Russia and Saudi Arabia. So there you have Ryan Sitton, Railroad Commissioner. Now tomorrow, Wayne Christian is supposed to be on CNBC. We'll see what he says. Now, according to that interview, Ryan Sitton wanted to vote today on what to do about this. Supposedly, they had a chit-chat with the Russian minister. I mean, look, I want action. He says, the report says, this is the last video clip right here. The report says everybody's sitting around waiting to see what is Texas going to do. I want to know, what is Donald Trump going to do? What is Donald Trump going to do? He's president of the United States. What is he going to do? Oil goes to negative $37.63. What is Donald Trump going to do? And Texas is under attack. What is Greg Abbott going to do? And the Railroad Commission, at least Sitton said he wanted to vote today on doing something, some sort of retaliation, production cut, something. Why is Wayne Christian and Christy Craddock saying kick the can down the road to May 5th? Ted Cruz called it economic warfare. Before Ted Cruz called it economic warfare, I did. I'm the one that brought this story to you, that Russia and Saudi Arabia specifically attacking us, and how come the big national corporate media is not following this story? Greg Abbott should be on this like a mad dog on red meat. Greg Abbott should be up there in Washington, in the Oval Office, putting pressure on President Trump. What are you going to do to Russia? What are you going to do to Saudi Arabia? Russell Bennett on the Facebook.com/Raging Radio video feed is called Saudi Arabia a frenemy. Now, to me right now, as far as Texas is concerned, they're an enemy. Straight up, unadulterated enemy. Full-blown enemy is what Saudi Arabia is. They collaborated, they colluded with Russia to specifically attack the spine of Texas. And we're waiting for somebody to do something. I'm waiting for someone to do something. I want payback. Where is our defense? Where is the defense of our national sovereignty, our liberty, our wealth, our bank accounts, the future of our children? Prediction of 10% plus unemployment just because of the oil prices. We're not even talking about the economic shutdown because of the panic. You should be absolutely livid because we specifically as Texans have been attacked. It's not so much about the Dakotas. It's not so much about New Mexico. It's not so much about Pennsylvania or where any other place where fracking or shell drilling goes on, Ohio or any place else. They specifically said we want Texas, and we're waiting for a response from Texas. You should be livid. I applaud the protest of Texans around the state that are saying reopen our state. You recognize that plainly, that your liberty is being ripped away from you. But this, in my view, is more important than even that. That a foreign power has specifically attacked Texas. This is like Santa Ana coming across the Rio Grande. This is like Russia and Saudi Arabia putting battleships or some sort of naval warships into the ports of Port Arthur and Sabine Lake and Beaumont and the Houston Ship Channel and Corpus Christi and daring oil tankers to tread in the Gulf of Mexico. It's the same thing. It's as if it's a naval blockade. They're trying to starve us out. And we need to be striking back. They're trying to starve us out. 10% plus unemployment just in Houston? Just because of the oil prices? Because specifically two foreign entities, Russia and Saudi Arabia, decided we're going to hit Texas. Russia is tired of the economic sanctions being put on it, so guess what? We're going to hit Texas. I want payback. Where's our defense? Where are those members of the elected to defend us as they have been elected to do? Where are they? And the Railroad Commission kicks the can down the road. We are not energy independent. Do not be bamboozled. I don't care by Donald Trump or anybody else. We are not energy independent. This proves we are not energy independent. In the contract, the new front month contract for West Texas Intermediate Crude, the June contract, it was down below $10 a barrel today. I think it finished around $11 a barrel. Oh, we're in trouble. We're in serious trouble, and no one is coming to the aid of Texas. Texas needs to stand up if we have to on our own and punch them right back in the nose. Saudi Arabia and Russia. We got to do something right here, right now.
RER Cross is the Christian programming of RagingElePhantsRadio.com. Pastor Stephen Broden is a featured Bible teacher.
What runs interference with God's instructive word are Satan, the world, and the flesh. Out of these three comes doubt, fear, and unbelief. Doubt and fear leads to unbelief. Unbelief, more than any other sin, is targeted towards the very character and integrity of God Himself. It challenges God's promises, His stated purposes, and casts dispersion on His plan for you and all who believe. This is what Satan did in the Garden of God with Adam and Eve. Satan led them to believe God was holding back on them and was untruthful about the consequences if they ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
Enjoy Pastor Stephen Broden, 9:30 a.m. and 9:30 p.m. Sundays on RER Cross, right here on RagingElePhantsRadio.com.
Hey, this is Barry the Music Man with the Doc Green Show, and one of their most beloved sponsors is BDAC and Heat. I'll tell you what, last summer when it was hotter than heck, my air conditioner went south for the winter. So I called BDAC and Heat. He came out the next day and put in a new, quiet, efficient system. My electric bill dropped 50%. So if you have an AC problem, you need to give Galen a call. So call Galen Beatty at 281-222-9591 or bdacandheat.com. 281-222-9591. Start saving money and be cool today.
Harris County has a crime problem. Who are you going to call? It's harder than ever to know who you can trust. You can trust Joe Dana. Group culture is always set by leadership, whether it's an airline or a city. As a lieutenant constable every day, he honors his oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the laws of Texas. Protect and serve is in his DNA. As a Harris County Sheriff, Joe Dana will restore your trust in the Sheriff's Department and improve the morale of the deputies on the street. You can trust Joe Dana as Harris County Sheriff.
I am Lieutenant Constable Joe Dana, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Joe Dana campaign.
Hey, Barry the Music Man here for Tejas Smoke Depot. They have everything you need when it comes to smoke. Check out the 150 square foot walk-in humidor filled with a huge selection of fine cigars. Or give them a call at 830-990-1472 and order up what you want. Maybe you like to roll your own. They have it. Maybe you need a gift for a smoker in the family. How about a new pipe? They have a large selection, even a cross-section of great beers in stock. In a hurry, come by and use the drive-thru. Located at 1639 West Highway 290 in Fredericksburg, Texas. Out of town? Visit them at the website, TejasSmokeDepot.com, or call 830-990-1472. That's 830-990-1472. It's smoking.
What's up, Saints and Patriots? I'm Apostle Claver, a proud Texas nationalist, and I'm here to tell you about Texit. For 25 years, Daniel Miller has been working to see the rebirth of the Republic of Texas. His work has been hard, but his passion is deep. For many Texans, there is a deep yearning, a burning to see the prophecy of Sam Houston come true. But the desire of their hearts comes with many questions. Texit has the answer. It's the new book from Daniel Miller and Defiance Press. Texit, Why and How Texas Will Leave the Union. Texit charts the path to Texas independence. This riveting book of facts and philosophy will soothe your anxiety about the coming change and build your confidence that Texans can get it done. You'll want to buy several copies for your family and friends. Like I've said about this governmental mess, the only way out is out. And the best part of Texit, I'm in it. Texit, Why and How Texas Will Leave the Union. It's selling like hotcakes. Buy it on RagingElePhantsRadio.com.
Take us wherever you go. Raging Elephants Radio, streaming on your computer, tablet, and smartphone.
Scheduled for the program, Daniel Miller is going to be with me as well. Texas nationalist movement. What do we do about this attack that we're under? I think it's a three-front attack. In order of priority, if you ask me. Number one, the attack on Texas by Russia and Saudi Arabia, sending oil prices yesterday negative for the first time in history. Not a negative 50 cents, not a negative $2, a negative $37.63. And the May contract stopped trading today. Tomorrow, the new front month, June, it tanked today. It's down around $11 a barrel. And it was intentionally done, specifically targeted towards us, Texans. And we're going to pay a major price. The second front of the three-front war that I think that we're in has to do with the border invasion. It has left the conversation, but yet it still exists. And in my view, we can't let it slide out of our consciousness. The build the wall chant it's still relevant. But I've been saying that we cannot wait for the wall to be built, that we are continually under invasion from the southern border. It's another problem, and the invasion with the oil prices, with the panic economic shutdown, is going to exacerbate the problems. If we're going to be having 10% unemployment, 10% plus unemployment, just because of the Russian-Saudi attack on us, not including the impact of the panic, we don't need any more cheap labor coming into Texas and taking jobs. It is going to be a vicious competition for employment once the economy is turned back on. Light switch on, right? Vicious. For a job. In the long start, it's going to take a while for the economy to recover. And other portions of the nation may do better than we do because they're not under attack like we are from Russia and Saudi Arabia. They're not under attack on their international border like we are. There's the March numbers right there. 35,000 in March. We're now up over 250,000. Now, I've got to say, I got to be intellectually honest. You guys know that's my credo. Got to be intellectually honest. Look at the numbers, look at the statistics, look at the empirical data, and be honest about it with you. And the numbers are dramatically down from FY 2019. Remember, in FY 2019 of May, we had 200,000 in that month alone, in that 31-day month alone, that crossed illegally into Texas. For FY 2019, we had 1.25 million approximately crossed illegally just into Texas, just through the 5 border sectors of Texas. I think I was the only one in broadcasting around the nation, if not the world, that kept a spreadsheet every month of FY 2019 and the border invasion. That's why I know it inside and out. Doing the same thing for FY 2020. Got to be honest about it. The invasion numbers are down dramatically, but it's not zero. When I ran for office back in December through March the 3rd, the number one issue at that time was immigration, the border invasion. That was the number one issue. Now, oil comes along, the panic comes along, but the invasion still lives. President Trump, unfortunately, he's got to have wide bandwidth. The border wall needs to be built. But if Greg Abbott is calling the National Guard out to put up roadblocks on I-10, I-20, and I-30, if DPS is putting up roadblocks on I-10, I-20, and I-30 to keep Texans from getting the sniffles, how come he's not putting the National Guard up on the border? How come the Texas State Guard isn't being stood up? I agreed with my opponent in the primary election for HD 138, Josh Flynn, that the Texas State Guard should be fully stood up, the Texas State Guard should be fully militarized, and the Texas State Guard should be used to patrol the Texas international border with Mexico. I would go even further. For years, Doc Green and I and others have called for citizen militia to be utilized on the international border with Mexico to stop the border invasion. We know we don't have to go through the talking points, the bullet points on how the invasion hurts us, hurts Texas economically, hurts us culturally, hurts us politically. We know what the border invasion does, and it still continues. And in my view, the three-front war, the second most important of these is the border invasion. It still continues. Greg Abbott will not call a special session for anything. How come he won't call a special session to deal with the panic? How come he won't call a special session to deal with the border invasion? He never has. He's always expressed he never will. How come he won't call a special session to deal with the attack that we have to endure from Russia and Saudi Arabia? Greg Abbott is absolutely 100% worthless. He's worried about people from Louisiana coming in and infecting Texans. What about those coming from south of the border? What kind of diseases are they bringing in? We've known it for years and years and years. Outbreaks of diseases that were eliminated, that were virtually disappeared from American and Texas society, reappearing. Why? Because of the southern border invasion. We don't know how this economy is going to recover. What we do know is that when it comes to Texas jobs, that Texans, especially multi-generational Texans, should have the first right of acceptance or refusal of any employment opportunities. I say it again, Texans. I didn't say white Texans, black Texans, Hispanic Texans, male Texans, female Texans, straight Texans, homosexual Texans. I said Texans should have the first right of acceptance or refusal when it comes to opportunities of employment in this state. We cannot forget about the border invasion. We can't take our eyes off the ball. Before this whole panic thing, before we were attacked by Russia and Saudi Arabia, the number one issue for Texans was still the border invasion. And it still is a very important issue. It's number two, in my view, after the attack by Russia and Saudi Arabia on us. The number two priority, the border invasion. We need to still do something about it. Shut down the border, stop the invasion, pull up the magnets. I'll go into the third front right after this. If you're not listening, you're not learning. Don't cut the stream. Raging Elephants Radio, and yet to come, still to come, Daniel Miller, Texas National Movement.
The battle for RER Cross is the Christian programming of RagingElephantsRadio.com. Here's a sample from Pastor Keenan Smith.
See, however, though, I believe the White House is supposed to stand as the people's house for all individuals. So I believe it is sinful and wrong for the White House to spend tens of hundreds of thousands of your tax dollars to bathe the White House in rainbow colors, celebrating their victory. So let me say this, that we expect an unregenerated individual to act lost. Lost people act lost. We expect that. We even expect them to embrace or promote or even applaud homosexuality and other ungodly practices because that's where they are in life. We understand that. The question is not do they act lost, but do we act found?
Enjoy Pastor Keenan Smith, 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. Sundays on RER Cross, right here on RagingElephantsRadio.com.
Automobile aficionado, Apostle Claver here. Let me introduce you to my mechanic, an ASC certified mechanic, Andre at America's Repair in Houston. Now, you guys know I'm a former fully sponsored race car driver and I own a high performance auto. You bet I'm particular about who even touches my car. I go to America's Repair to get all my auto work done, and you should too. Andre has served Spring Branch and all of Houston for over 20 years. America's Repair will match or beat any competitor's price. All repairs come with a 1-year, 12,000-mile warranty. America's Repair is a complete car care and repair center. State inspection, muffler and exhaust work, wheel alignment, brake work, tune-ups, engine transmission work, auto body and paint. Great deals on oil change and AC checkup. America's Repair accepts all extended warranties. 2005 North Gessner, 1 mile north of Memorial City Mall in the Katy. Wednesday is senior citizen discounts. Thursday, active military discount. Call 713-467-2001, 713-467-2001, americasrepair.com, or click the ad on RagingElephantsRadio.com.
The battle for liberty rages in every Texas community, none more so than in the nation's fourth largest city, Houston, Texas. A tyrannical mayor denies the right to vote to the citizens of the city, signs executive orders that violate the Texas Constitution and the charter of the city, and issues subpoenas for the sermons of pastors. And when the frontline leaders against the mayor's totalitarian agenda wanted a broadcast partner for their Faith, Family, and Freedom tour, who did they request? RagingElephantsRadio.com.
A lot of great folks that we owe a big debt of gratitude for promoting this issue from day one. I want to recognize my friend Claver and the folks over at Raging Elephants over here. He was on it from day one. Every single week this man talks about this issue. And so thank you, Claver, for never giving in, never backing down, and continuing to be that loud conservative voice.
RagingElephantsRadio.com, the rebellious voice of Texas liberty.
Listen up, Texans. RER Nation has got to grow. We've got to have those RER app downloads. Android devices. Here's how to share the RER app. Get to your application manager through Settings, tap the RER app logo. There's your Google Play, right? Scroll down. See the share icon? Hit it. Choose text or messenger. Pick a couple of Texas patriots. Give a testimony in 160 characters. Send. iOS device folks, do the equivalent through the App Store. Let's get it viral. RER app.
Texas Talk is all the rage. Apostle Claver T. Kamau-Imani on RagingElephantsRadio.com.
Yeah, what's up, Saints and Patriots? Just having fun, air quotes. Just having fun talking Texas Liberty 411. Not having too much fun today, man, because Texas is at war. We've been attacked. It's a three-front war, if you ask me. Number one, the alliance of Russia and Saudi Arabia to attack us in the spine, to put a dagger in our spine, attacking oil production, driving oil negative for the first time in history on yesterday. A negative $37.63. And by the way, everybody right now, you need to be sharing this video link, sharing this audio link right now, especially if you're watching on Facebook.com/Raging Elephants Radio. And when this program is over, as you know, the video renders really quickly. So if you missed the first part of the program, you need to go back and see everything that I've laid out. Special report. And I'm going to have a special report tomorrow dealing with a congressional district race. One of the candidates seems to have some very cozy ties to the Democrats, but he's running as a Republican. Very cozy ties to the Democrats. Ties so close, he is not to be trusted. That's tomorrow. But right now we're talking about the third front on the war that Texas is engaged in, and that is the panic. Of course, everyone is watching Georgia right now to see what Georgia is going to do. On Friday, Georgia is supposed to be reopening their economy to some extent, and everybody wants to see what happens. We need to reopen our economy right away. Last week, I played that boring press conference by Greg Abbott. I'm so sorry our governor is so boring. That guy is the cure for insomnia. There's no question about that. The juggling governor, King Gregory. Texas runs on sales tax. We run on consumption tax. You got governors all over the nation right now calling for a $500 billion bailout because they're going to have revenue shortfalls. What do you think Texas is going to be going through? We need an immediate full reopening, not an incremental reopening, a full reopening. Let Texans decide where they want to go and how they want to do it. If they want to wear a mask, let them wear a mask. I gave a one-step solution to reopening the economy last week. I said, everybody get a thermometer gun. And as your employees walk in, hit them with the thermometer gun. If their temperature is over 98.6, is at 99.1, 99.7, send them home. See how you feel in a couple of days and come back. And you talk about oil prices. Look at this. I shared this with you last week. That was on a Thursday morning, Saints and Patriots. A Thursday morning at 9:15 a.m. inbound on the Northwest Freeway in Houston. It's supposed to be bumper-to-bumper traffic. I'm in the flow. Am I blowing anybody's doors off? I'm not blowing anybody's doors off. Am I blowing anybody's? I'm in the flow of traffic. 9:15 in the morning. A Thursday morning. Look at this. It's like 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning when there is absolutely no traffic because nobody's going to church. Speedometer is going to show here in just a second. Am I blowing by anybody's doors? Am I blowing anybody's doors off? No. Yeah, I'm doing 78. I'm doing 78 and a 60 and I'm proud of it. Doing 78 and a 60 and I'm proud of it. And I'm not blowing anybody's doors off. I'm in the flow. What was it? A month ago, I showed you these photographs of Memorial City Mall and not a single car in the parking lot. Not a single car. Texas runs off of what? Consumer tax, sales tax. Garage completely empty. The pressure is on government to reopen the Texas economy. We need the Texas economy reopened right now. The panic, enough of the self-imposed pain that's been put on us. Self-imposed pain. Showed you this video. That's Memorial City Mall. I don't even know why security is there. Why is security there? Texans are starting to fight back. And we've got to be extremely careful come January of 2021 when the Nimnongs gather under the pink dome and start talking about the budget. Because you know and I know they're going to raid the rainy day fund. There's not going to be any money in the rainy day fund. Where do we get the money for the rainy day fund? The money for the rainy day fund comes from oil and gas that's taken up out of the Texas earth. And oil is negative, a minus $37.63. Texans are in food lines. Have you seen the food lines in San Antonio? Texans are in food lines because of the pan panic. Some Texans are fighting back. That group Open Texas on Facebook, it blew up. It grew pretty fast. Tens of thousands of Texans. And around the United States and around Texas, citizens are starting to hold protests saying, reopen our economy, stop ultimately picking winners and losers, stop endangering our way of life, our way of living, our jobs. It's a three-front war, I tell you, Texans. It's a three-front war. We got to deal with Russia and Saudi Arabia attacking us. That's why oil prices are negative. We got to deal with the border invasion. We need no more pressure from the border invasion, economically, culturally, or politically. We can't take our eye off the ball when it comes to the border invasion. That was the number one issue before oil prices and the COVID-19 pan panic hit. It was still the border invasion. It still continues. We can't take our eye off the ball. The third front is indeed the pan panic. We've got enough of it. We've had enough of it. I'm tired of it. You're tired of it. Reopen the Texas economy right now, not incrementally. Full-blown reopen of the Texas economy right now. Everybody back to work right now. From the very beginning, I told you I was going to be the anti-pan panic broadcast activist, the anti-pan panic talk show host. I've been true to my word. I've encouraged Texans to defy. I've encouraged Texans, do not comply. Do not let the government take your business away from you. Get the roof up, pull the roof from over your head. Don't let the government do it. They don't have enough money to bail out anybody. Zero. No one. Open the Texas economy right now. Let's win the three-front war against Texas.
What's up, Saints and Patriots? I'm Apostle Claver, a proud Texas nationalist, and I'm here to tell you about Texit. For 25 years, Daniel Miller has been working to see the rebirth of the Republic of Texas. His work has been hard, but his passion is deep. For many Texans, there is a deep yearning, a burning to see the prophecy of Sam Houston come true. But the desire of their hearts comes with many questions. Texit has the answer. It's the new book from Daniel Miller and Defiance Press. Texit, Why and How Texas Will Leave the Union. Texit charts the path to Texas independence. This riveting book of facts and philosophy will soothe your anxiety about the coming change and build your confidence that Texans can get it done. You'll want to buy several copies for your family and friends. Like I've said about this governmental mess, the only way out is out. And the best part of Texit, I'm in it. Texit, Why and How Texas Will Leave the Union. It's selling like hotcakes. Buy it on RagingElePhantsRadio.com.
What would happen if one day Washington, D.C. decided that the Texas Tea Party had gone too far? What if Texans really stood up for their constitutional rights? Ripped from today's headlines, a novel that explores that premise. Could it really happen? This is a thriller in the mode of Tom Clancy and Joel Rosenberg. Author David Thomas Roberts explores a scenario that will have you on the edge of your seat from start to finish. Find out why readers use phrases like, "I couldn't put it down," riveting, "a little too real." Can Texas Ranger Pop Junger save the day? You will only know when you read Patriots of Treason. You'll want to add this book to your collection, and to save time and aggravation, just order the sequel, State of Treason, along with it. You'll be glad you did. Click on the banner ad at the top of the page. RagingElePhantsRadio.com. RagingElePhantsRadio.com.
Hey, Barry the Music Man here for Tejas Smoke Depot. They have everything you need when it comes to smoke. Check out the 150 square foot walk-in humidor filled with a huge selection of fine cigars. Or give them a call at 830-990-1472 and order up what you want. Maybe you like to roll your own. They have it. Maybe you need a gift for a smoker in the family. How about a new pipe? They have a large selection, even a cross-section of great beers in stock. In a hurry, come by and use the drive-thru. Located at 1639 West Highway 290 in Fredericksburg, Texas. Out of town? Visit them at the website, TejasSmokeDepot.com, or call 830-990-1472. That's 830-990-1472. It's smoking.
You're enjoying Apostle Claver T. Kamau-Imani on RagingElePhantsRadio.com.
Hey, thanks so much for joining me on the rebellious voice of Texas Liberty. Of course, this program goes 6 p.m. and then 12 midnight and then 6 a.m. and then 12 noon. Mother's favorite time is 12 noon, so she usually catches the replay. You can catch it live, but the most important thing is share the video link and tell someone about Raging Elephants Radio. Be an RER evangelist. I think we're at war. No, I know that we are at war. Specifically, Texas. Serious danger. I want to bring in President of the Texas Nationalist Movement, my good friend Daniel Miller. And Daniel, I want to play what if. First of all, how you doing, brother? You don't have COVID-19, do you?
Not anymore.
You think you did have it at one point, right?
All I'm doing now is waiting on a readily available antibody test to confirm what we pretty much already know. So.
Wow. Well, I'm glad you're not dead, Daniel. I really am. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you may be one among few.
No, man, I've been I don't know if you've had a chance to kind of watch the program, but I really called this a special report, and I wanted you on this program tonight. I called it an RER special report because, in my view, we are under attack, and I think it's a three-front war. It cannot be debated now that there was collaboration between Russia and Saudi Arabia to see what we saw on yesterday, a barrel of oil in the front month of the futures contract, West Texas Intermediate crude for the first time in history go negative. We're not talking about a negative $2, a negative $3, a negative $37.63. And the new front month contract is now in danger of going into single digits per barrel. And this is a direct attack on the spine of Texas. I think that's front number one. Number two, and as far as priorities are concerned, others out there may disagree, but I think that the three fronts, and to me the second priority is still the border invasion. And number three, I think the COVID-19 panic and the closing down of the Texas economy. On the oil issue alone, the projection is 10% plus unemployment right here in Houston, impact of oil being as low as it is. And it's a direct result of foreign entities and their actions towards us. I think there's some retaliation, some payback. There needs to be something done to Russia and Saudi Arabia to teach them a lesson that if you mess with Texas, we're going to mess you up. First of all, your points of view on this. Am I out of my mind, Daniel? Is that the first thing? Am I delusional?
No, you're not. You're not delusional. And anyone who would think that you're delusional for pointing out the facts is probably, they've probably contracted some sort of illness themselves. Look, Claver, I did an interview with an Italian media outlet yesterday. And this particular person that I visited with lives in a region right next to the Lombardy region, right? The region that was the worst hit by the coronavirus. And as I was answering his questions, the more I answered his questions, the angrier I got. And it's been an interesting few weeks. Okay, let me just say that. Okay, and I say that because all of these things that me, that the TNM warned everyone about, are jumping up to bite everyone on the backside, and people seem like they're just clueless. They're oblivious, right? I mean, literally last week, I got hate email. I was getting ripped up on social media by a bunch of Greg Abbott butt kissers, right, for calling him out for making really poor decisions, right? And now this week, Greg Abbott is public enemy number one, but I'm not going to get an apology for that, right? But think about what's happened here, right? So I was back to the Italian. So I'm running through the scenario for him to explain what our perspective is from the TNM. And there are some things about this that are abundantly clear. Number one, the numbers have been cooked and fabricated, and we have been lied to. Anyone who says that that's not the case is a moron. They are a complete and total idiot and are in denial. Okay, that's just the bottom line. We know this because initially when the numbers came out, most of the Western governments were pretty doggone skeptical about it. Rightly so. China lies. They're communists. They're a totalitarian regime. That's what they do. They lie. They cover up. Okay, so you throw those out the window. But it was when the Imperial College report was released with its apocalyptic predictions that everyone lost their minds. But there were still there were a few folks out there that were saying, wait a minute, this data modeling seems a bit, excessive. But yet all of these governments went into overdrive because they saw an opportunity to take powers that they otherwise would not have been granted. So what do? They pump a bunch of fear into the populace that this stuff is going to strike you dead if your neighbor happens to cough within 6 feet of you. And in the process, they shut the economy down. Now, literally, almost as soon as those Imperial College numbers hit, we found out they were a lie. Oxford University ran their own statistical modeling. Boom. We found out that it was nowhere near. And then the further we get away from that Imperial College report, what do we get? We see more and more people are realizing that their on-the-ground experiences, the things that they could see with their eyes, are not tracking with the predictions of the modeling that came out of Imperial College. So we've got this bad model, these governments that are basing public policy decisions on the bad model, that are forcing us all into the lockdown, to rip up the Bill of Rights, to treat us like we're all a bunch of cattle, like we're a bunch of idiots, right? And now all of that modeling that was supposed to scare us is turning into a big nothing burger, right? Where we're going to have mortality rates that are probably lower than seasonal flu. And these governmental actors, these statists who are calling for more and more power, are bolstered by these sycophants that can't be bothered to remove the lips from the backside of this perceived power long enough to come up and see the light that they're being lied to. So now what do we get? We get the federal government at the point of a gun taking our money and distributing it ostensibly to help people that are out of a job because of the shutdown. But where does that money go? It goes to the major corporations, because the banks, through this backdoor bailout, have been able to prioritize, have been given latitude to prioritize the processing of the loans, because they get a cut of the dollar amount that's handed out by the loan. So guess what? All these big box retailers, all of these chain stores, all of these big corporate conglomerates are getting a payday out of our paychecks, and mom and pop Texas business owner is getting crapped all over, right? And you, whichever way it is, whether it's by design or through sheer incompetence, the fact of the matter is it's done. It's done. They've tanked the economy. They've driven us over $30 trillion in debt now, right? And now this oil war breaks out, which is I'm ready to agree with you that it's a direct attack on us. But the fact of the matter is that Texas is suffering. And all I could do is think about, for 10, 15 years before this, the message from me, the message from the Texas nationalist movement is, hey, get out while the getting's good, right? Get out when we could be out on a high note and govern ourselves, right? And we could call our shots, and we could set our economic policies, and we can clean house of the permanent political class, right? But nobody wanted to do that, right? Not enough people, not at one time. We got stymied by the legislature, whatever the reasons are, it's completely irrelevant to me, but here we are. We're in a situation that I feel with 100% of every fiber of my being, if we had been out of the federal union, that this problem would have been handled in a much better way and Texas economy would still be thriving. But no, that didn't happen. And these legislators, man, these elected officials just feel so empowered. Let me tell you the message that they're sending with this lockdown order. They're sending the message that they have always sent to the constituents here in Texas. You are too stupid to govern yourself. That's the message that they're sending. They're saying the thing that the political elite and the political class has said time and time again, which is you are too stupid to govern yourself, right? They're going to order the shutdowns. They're going to order the lockdowns rather than saying, hey, you know what? We think this is going to be bad. We're not exactly sure about this data, but here's what we'd recommend. And, ironically enough, the test for this is Sweden, because that's what Sweden did. Sweden didn't lock anything down. They didn't lock their citizens down. They didn't wreck their economy. They said, you know what? If you're smart, be careful, right? If you're smart, be careful. But what's happened is the permanent political class, the elected elitists here in Texas are treating us like we're a bunch of stupid cattle. And you know what? The reason they're doing it is because that's what they think we are. And the reason they think we are is because the electorate of Texas has proven it time and time again as these politicians lie to us without consequence. They lie to us. They screw us on public policy. They steal and fritter away our tax money. They kowtow and kiss the backside of the 1.5 million unelected bureaucrats in Washington, D.C., and they have zero repercussions for it. None. Absolutely none. So what message does that send to them? It sends the message that we can wreck your economy, we can control your life, we can take a leak all over, we can piss all over your Bill of Rights, and you're not going to do anything to us because all we have to do is post some little dippy meme on a Texas holiday on social media, and suddenly you'll fall in love with us all over again. So, Claver, we are under attack. We are under attack, and frankly, I'm pretty sick and tired of this condescending attitude that the elected officials and even some of our own fellow citizens are taking, this condescending view toward people that want to open up the economy, man. The mom and pops got screwed by the federal government. They're robbing us of our tax money and handing it off to the corporations or just pissing it away. What do they expect, right? The mom and pops, the independent, the single moms out there cutting hair, those people deserve the opportunity to weigh the risks and make the decision whether or not they want to go to work. And if I'm a consumer, I deserve the opportunity to be able to determine whether I want to risk getting out. What they're saying is the mom and pop shop on your main street is not valued the same as big box stores like Walmart, right? They tell you, hey, you can't congregate together in a park, but you can be herded in like cattle to go get your, everyday low prices. That's the kind of crap that they're force feeding us. And you know what, Claver? The people of Texas have had enough. I've not seen a sentiment like this, a sentiment of discontent, of disobedience in the entire time that I've been pursuing Texas independence. And I pray to God Almighty that the people of Texas will carry this through, not just by giving a much-needed, long-awaited enema to the Pink Palace up there in Austin, but casting it all the way up and through Washington, D.C., and severing our ties with those thieves and those murderers.
Well, the other thing is, Daniel, is that, to me, the number one issue is the Russia-Saudi Arabia alliance that attacked us.
Claver, but here's the thing that is extraordinarily important, right? And I'm not meaning to discount that at all. But had that happened in the absence of this bungling by all levels of government, we would have been able to address that, right? But it didn't happen in a vacuum. Is the timing suspect? Absolutely. I don't think in the absence of this whole COVID-19 debacle that it would have happened at all. I think there was an opportunity presented, and I think they took it, right? These people at all levels, and I'm not saying everyone's operating monolithically. I'm not saying there's some grand conspiracy, but there's a lot going on where people that have power are utilizing it right now to grind everyone else into powder. They're going to show us who's in charge, right? And by and large, they're doing it. My heart breaks for the people out there that are losing their jobs because of policy decisions that were made based on bad data, right? That was on its face obviously bad data. Right? To the single mother that is now without an income and can no longer feed their children. We literally, and don't even get me started on this, this FACO stimulus business, right? We literally know one person who has received that stimulus check. And I'm not saying that others haven't got it, but we literally know one person, right?
Right.
And let's be honest. We're overpaying. Texans overpay between $103 and $160 billion into the federal system every single solitary year. And the critics out there would laugh at us when we would talk about these little things like the stimulus, et cetera, as being crumbs from the master's table where we have, look, this is the literal definition of crumbs from the master's table. That if you look up crumbs from the master's table in the dictionary, there will be a picture of a Trump stimulus check. I mean, that's just the bottom line. It's a joke. And what they've done is they've driven the car off into the ditch in the hopes of scoring some political points, man. So, whether it's this stimulus, and by the way, let me just go ahead and say this, because I said this on the last program, and oddly enough, someone reached out to me and took exception to it. And because they took exception to it, I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say that all of those Tea Party folks that went out and that marched into the streets, right, and decried the bank bailouts and the stimulus plans and the quantitative easing out of the Obama administration. Every one of you folks in the Tea Party that have been silent on this, you're hypocrites. You're hypocrites.
Well, I mean, I said I agreed with you. I said the same thing. If you didn't like the bank bailouts, you shouldn't be liking this. And now the governors, they've got their noses in the trough as well. They want $500 billion because they know that their revenue is going to be, seriously shortfall for their budgets. Texas, who knows what's going to happen to the rainy day fund here in Texas. But when you talk about the mom and pop shops, when you talk about picking winners and losers, this is the ultimate in picking winners and losers. When the projections are that upwards of a third of small businesses will go out of business. There is no bailing them out. You have to have new business creation to be able to get the employment levels back up again. They're going out of business. At least a third of small businesses. This is the ultimate picking winners and losers, and the small mom and pop shop on Main Street is the one that, as you say, is getting pulverized, getting pounded into powder. These are the ones right here. A third of small businesses because of this panic, Daniel.
The hottest place in hell is going to be reserved for the people that harmed, for the people that made these decisions, that harmed all of these people, knowing full well what the impact of it would be. And you know what? So be it. I'll be there with marshmallows and hot dogs roasting right next to them, just so I can watch the show, because I'm sick of it, right? I mean, literally, if you watch Greg Abbott's press conferences, they're like hostage videos, right? This guy, I am so sick of these guys getting on social media and touting what kind of leaders they are, when every press conference, everything they say they're going to do is an echo of some decision that came down from the District of Criminals, right? I mean, don't tell me you're leading when you have your lips firmly attached to Uncle Sam's backside, right? That's not leading. So, I don't want to hear it. Greg Abbott's little hostage videos that he makes. I'm honestly surprised that he hasn't been making some more, dippy little Whataburger and Chick-fil-A posts on Twitter, right? I mean, this guy, I wouldn't trust this guy to lead me out of an outhouse.
We got one more session with him, and we've got some serious problems come January 2021. We got redistricting, and we're going to have a budget and no money. Literally, no money. I mean, people, they use the rainy day fund, the ESF, the Economic Stabilization Fund. They raid it every 2 years to balance the budget. They've been using it as a piggy bank, as an ATM. We foolishly, the people of Texas, I didn't vote for it, you didn't vote for it, that transportation bill in 2014, that water bill in 2013, to where they could siphon off money from the severance tax before it even hit the Texas Comptroller's bank account, the ESF bank account, the rainy day fund. That thing is going to be, where are we going to get the money from? Where are we going to fill up the rainy day fund when we will not be able to pull oil out of the ground? That's how that's filled up.
I'm going to tell you right now. So right now,
at the negative $37.63 a barrel that oil went to yesterday, where it closed at yesterday, and then tomorrow, the front month, the June contract is probably going to go in the single digits too. I'm furious. Absolutely
right
furious.
now, look, Claver, right now, Glenn Hager, the Texas Comptroller, is somewhere being treated with an IV bag because of excessive diarrhea. I mean, I saw on Facebook, I saw a screenshot from an interview that he was doing. Of course, remember, because everybody's on Zoom doing interviews now, for all these guys, it's Casual Friday. So, I saw a picture of Glenn Hager being interviewed somewhere. And I mean, beyond the fact that he was dressed like he was on a video date for a hookup on Grindr, his color was so bad. I mean, the guy looked utterly miserable. I wouldn't want to be in his shoes, for a whole lot of reasons. But I wouldn't want to be in that guy's shoes. But look, the chickens are coming home to roost. These guys, and you and I have talked about this till we're blue in the face. And people just kind of poo-pooed it off, and we're being a bunch of naysayers, and we're whining, and all that kind of crap that they do to try to marginalize what we say. But we have warned people for years that all of this nickel and dime rating of the Economic Stabilization Fund was, treating it like it was some personal project piggy bank, was going to come back to bite Texas in the butt. And guess what? It's here. I take no joy in the fact that I get to say, we told them. I take no joy in that fact, but, maybe from here on out, Claver, some folks that have had their ears closed off will be listening very intently to the things we say and the predictions we make, because I can't think of a time where this is concerned that we have been wrong.
No, we haven't. Well, that's sort of what we do, right? We look out for the best interest of Texas. And in my view, if we were a sovereign nation right now, a sovereign independent republic right now, we would be out in a better position to do something about our economy. But since we're tied to the Union, since we're tied to Washington, Devil City, and they refuse to do anything. I mean, our U.S. Senator Ted Cruz came out and said that we are the victims of economic warfare, that we are the targets of Russia and Saudi Arabia. And we're not getting any retribution. We're not getting any retaliation. Where is the counterattack?
Yeah, there won't be one. There won't be one because it goes to exactly what we said. They want Texas for campaign contributions, for tax money, and for votes, and that's it. That's how the permanent political class views Texas, right, at that federal level. We are a piggy bank, whether it's for our tax money, whether it's for our campaign cash, or whether it's for our votes. That's the only time they ever pay us any attention. Look, do we need to talk about how long we've been screwed on the border and the border issue and the immigration issue to the tune of anywhere from $9 billion to $12 billion a year, right? I mean, we've been screwed on that thing from the jump, right? And if we had a strong governor, one that wasn't weaker than 5 gallons of baby piss, then honestly, Claver, this would have been addressed, right? But instead, we've got a governor that plays follow the leader and then claims to be a leader. It is sickening to watch our Texas elected officials circle around the federal orbit like a happy puppy. They are so thirsty for attention from the federal guys. They will sell us out at the drop of a hat, right? They are so scared to move without, the blessings of the federal government. And I don't want to hear the crap about Abbott suing the federal government, however many times he did when he was attorney general. Baby, when you're governor, what have you done for me lately? How are you standing up for me now? How are you protecting the people of Texas now? How are you trying to salvage this mess that you made of our economy right now, right? I don't give a crap that he was a Boy Scout in Longview, Texas, right? I as much as I appreciate the fact his wife is reading children's books on social media in the evenings, that doesn't do anything to make anyone who's out there who has lost their jobs, who is not getting any money, who is having to shutter their business, that doesn't do anything to alleviate their suffering and their pain. And Texans deserve better.
Couldn't agree more, Daniel. Thanks so much, man. I mean, I did this special report tonight, and I said I want Daniel on because I wanted the perspective of, hey, if our prayers are answered, if our prayers were already answered, and we were an independent sovereign republic, how would we respond to the three-front war that we're engaged in? I don't think too many Texans, unless they listen to RER, are aware or have been able to connect the dots of what type of peril Texas is in right now. Economically, culturally, socially, politically, we're in some deep, deep trouble, and it's intentional. We were targeted. We are being targeted. And our ability to respond is being constrained by our attachment to the Union.
It is ridiculous. Here on San Jacinto Day of all days,
yes,
we are having to remind our fellow countrymen that submitting to even 1 ounce of tyranny is unacceptable. It's unacceptable, and there are consequences. I know we're over time, and I apologize. Hey, well, I was going to apologize, but sorry, not sorry for the rant.
That's all right.
But I think it's important to remember that while we're celebrating San Jacinto, right, that victory where we did not surrender and we played it smart and we won a nation, right? I think it's important to celebrate that, but I also think it's important to look back at Goliad and remind ourselves that there is a price that is paid for surrendering to tyranny. Not to end it on a down thought like that, Claver, but I think people, all Texans everywhere, in whatever hours are left on San Jacinto Day, need to reflect on that journey through the Texas Revolution and find the lessons in every single thing. Right? I firmly and honestly believe that on the other end of this, Texas can come out stronger. I believe that the future of Texas is bright, but it will be bright when the people of Texas realize what is embodied, what is said in Article 1, Section 2, that all political power is inherent in the people, and the people have at all times the inalienable right to alter, reform, or abolish their form of government in such manner as they may think expedient. Now, we had to teach that lesson to a tyrant in 1836. And as I said today on social media, I firmly believe that we may be at that time right now where we're going to have to ring the bell and say that school is in session.
Daniel, thanks so much, man. I couldn't say it better myself. San Jacinto Day on top of that. Claverism number 9. There is no cause in all creation, no matter how desperate or benevolent, that justifies the imposition of tyranny. Nothing. justifies the imposition of tyranny. Nothing. And we're suffering under it right now. San Jacinto Day. There it is. The book Text It. You can get that at RagingElePhantsRadio.com. Top banner. Right at the top of the page. You want to click and get that book. It's awesome. And if you can find Line in the Sand, you need to get that one too. Daniel, thanks so much, man. Thanks for putting everything into context the way you always do. That's why I wanted you on today on this special program. Thanks, man.
Yes, thank you.
That's my main man, Daniel Miller. He's awesome. And Saints and Patriots, that's it for yours truly. This was a lot of work putting this together. Unlike Rush, Sean, Laura, Tucker, that have a team, Rush walks in and he's got a stack of papers and his team says, this is what you're going to talk about today. I don't have that. None of us at RER have that. To do it ourselves. Put a lot of work into this special report. And I'm going to be focusing on these things continually because we are at war as Texans. September 9th, 2013, I said this was not for entertainment purposes. This was wartime radio. And my goodness, we are certainly in a wartime. Warfare has been exacted upon us. And we're going to keep talking about it. We need to open the economy right now, not incrementally, right now. We got to keep our eyes on the border invasion. Need to shut down the border. Need to pull up the magnets. And we need to retaliate against Russia and Saudi Arabia right now for attacking us, for trying to put a dagger in our economic spine. Tomorrow, another special report. Some funny stuff going on in the CD22 election. Gonna have a little expose on one of the runoff candidates. You're not gonna want to miss that. Get the word out on that right now. There is a candidate in the runoff of the congressional district, I think that's 22, and he's a little bit too cozy with Democrats. A little bit too cozy. We've got the proof. I'm Apostle Claver T. Kamau-Imani, the Christian politician, your ultra-conservative soul brother. My enemies under the pink dome call me the purifier, and I like it. From Houston strong. Look out, Russia. Look out, Saudi Arabia. May the Lord Jesus bless you. May the Lord Jesus bless the past and soon-to-be future independent sovereign Republic of Texas.